Kavanaugh, law and order, tax cuts, and common sense.
Democrat hopes for a blue wave appear to be fading.
We always knew that this election was going to be close.
A lot of people talk about this blue wave and all that stuff. I don't believe it.
There are reports that CIA Director Gina Haspel is traveling to Turkey amid an international outcry.
Director Haspel will be there tomorrow herself firsthand to examine the evidence and to engage with senior Turkish officials.
Nancy Pelosi even admitted that if elected speaker, she's now planning to use subpoena powers as a bargaining chip against the president.
And subpoena power is interesting in terms of negotiating on other subjects.
If you want the fake news to finally investigate Hillary Clinton, we'll just have to nominate Hillary Clinton to the United States Supreme Court. How do you like that? Can you imagine Hillary up there? That would take 3 to 4 years of questions.
Start today. Good morning. Good morning.
Everything's bigger in Texas, and yesterday it was huge. There were people standing outside. There were big screens, food carts, live music while he was inside having that rally in front of 18,000 people.
Right.
It's a busy night.
Not many people think so. Would think that Ted Cruz needed the help, but Beto O'Rourke had gotten tremendous momentum, $38 million worth of funding. So the president told Ted Cruz, you need some help, I'll be there, but let's get a big venue. And he got that big venue. He got a lot of interest. And just keep in mind, Michael Avenatti was so convinced that he could do just as big an event, he was going to have a resistance event. For some reason, he decided not to go through with it. If you watched last night, you know why.
Yeah, it was, for the people in that hall, it was exciting. You saw much of it right here on the Fox News channel. You could see that the messaging for the White House has changed. You did see a lot of those signs that now say jobs, not mobs, just trying to energize the base and to try to persuade independent voters that 2 weeks from today, go for the Republican.
Look at that. Promises made, promises kept. That was on the ticker all the way around the arena.
There was a time when to get a message, you would focus group and test it and go out. The president responds to the news and comes up with new themes in these events. And that's why I think so many people go, because they don't know what he's actually going to say. Right. It's no read the prompter, thanks for coming, I got to run. Right. It is Kavanaugh, the caravan. Oh, yeah, what about the
law and order.
Anger, yeah, law and order, the mobs and the jobs.
And common sense. Of course, you know, he was there to prop up Ted Cruz to make sure that Ted Cruz gets across the finish line and wins his seat again in the Senate. But remember, it wasn't that long ago where the president, when they were locking horns in the primary, referred to him as Lion Ted. Now he's Beautiful Ted. Things seem to be copacetic
Texas Ted.
Down in Texas. Watch this.
It's true what they say. Everything in Texas is just bigger. The people of Texas are going to re-elect a man who has become a really good friend of mine. You know, we had our little difficulties, right? But actually, if you remember, the beginning, it was a love fest. Nobody has helped me more with your tax cuts, with your regulation, with all of the things that we're doing. You know, what's happening right now as a large group of people, they call it a caravan. I think the Democrats had something to do with it. This will be the election of the caravan, Kavanaugh, law and order, tax cuts, and common sense. Today's Democrat Party would rather protect criminal aliens than American citizens, which is why the Democrats must be voted out of office. The Democrats want to replace freedom with socialism. And they want to replace the rule of law with the rule of the mob. Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs. In this election, you can send a message to the radical Democrats, don't mess with Texas.
The big question is, was that effective in trying to turn out the base there in the great state of Texas? Houston smashed an early voting record, the local papers are reporting this morning. And then NBC did an analysis of 7 close states and found that Republican voters are outpacing Democratic voters in early voting. So is there going to be a blue wave? Even some Democrats are now saying, maybe not. but it's going to be close in the
Republicans
House.
typically dominate early voting by absentee ballot, while Democrats tend to have the advantage with the in-person early voting. The entire early voting picture in Florida, which is yet to become in person, is so far incomplete. But Florida is going to be a big deal. There's a lot of congressional seats in Texas which are under scrutiny.
No doubt it's going to be very close. Tom Perez, who is the chairman of the DNC, and Bernie Sanders have said they don't even call it a blue wave anymore. Nancy Pelosi calls it a tsunami, but they said they don't call it a blue wave because it's more of a purple wave.
Well, she needs a tsunami. She wants to be speaker again.
Right. She actually thinks he is. Meanwhile, straight ahead. Now to the Fox News alert. That caravan is not going away. It has grown to a mile long as it heads straight to our border.
But U.S. agents are already dealing with criminals knowingly breaking the law.
Griff Jenkins is live in McAllen, Texas, where he's seeing those border busts firsthand. Griff?
Morning, guys. That's right. The closest port of entry to that 7,000 strong and growing migrant caravan is McAllen, Texas, right behind me. But before they even get near this border, there's already an influx of people illegally crossing. Yesterday, we witnessed firsthand. Watch. We've been hiding in the bushes waiting to witness one of these crossings. Let's go. They're coming right now. You can see they've come in. They've got a family in a raft. Excuse me, sir. Were you trying to cross into America illegally? So what we're witnessing now is clearly a family that was being brought over by that smuggler that was paddling in the raft. This is an attempt to illegally cross, and they've gone back over there. We've seemed to have foiled this attempt. Can you tell me why you came illegally?
The situation of Honduras.
You're in Honduras? You're from Honduras?
Yes.
What are the conditions there?
You could not have work in there because the criminals always will get your money.
But they're not all women and children. Officials here announcing over the weekend a man wanted for murder in South Carolina was arrested here in McAllen, as well as a member of the 18th Street gang. Guys?
Well, yeah. And that was not part of the caravan, Griff, right? You just happen to be there. You're McAllen. That's a border crossing.
That's right. That was not part of the caravan. The caravan's 1,100 miles south of here, but the closest entry for the Central Americans is where the influx is overwhelmed. We don't know where they're going to go. Organizers haven't said, but when we find out, it's going to be quite a task for them.
All right, Griff, we thank you very much. Meanwhile, this morning, the Washington Post has got an item talking a little bit about some of the people in the caravan, which is 1,000 miles from Griff. There are a lot of people who have been in this country before, but they were deported, and that shows you essentially where they are right now. And the Washington Post quotes a number of people. A fellow by the name of Imner Fuentes was deported 6 times. He keeps coming back. He needs the jobs. It's easy, though, to cross the border, which, because of the laws, are ridiculous in some cases. Some will, according to the Washington Post, some will apply for asylum. But most migrants are not planning to apply for asylum. What they're going to do is they're going to try to figure out where none of the guards are and go across that way and then go into the United States of America.
At first, it started with 160 in Honduras, and then as they moved into Guatemala, and then they're moving up into Mexico, it's grown and grown and grown, and now it's 7,000. They still have 1,100 miles to go. So how big is it going to grow, and how big is it going to get? These individuals in that Washington Post article are saying that this is their opportunity. This is just how it is. They catch you, and you try to get back in. One guy said, I heard about the caravan, and I knew this was my chance.
Yeah, I know it's just looking at it, it's almost all young men. There's some families, but it looks like mostly all men. And so far, the President of the United States says, listen, first he praised Mexico, and he goes, look, obviously they weren't able to do the job, tweeted out something derogatory there, and made it clear in a tweet yesterday that Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, the triangle countries, they're going to pay the price. We give them $500 combined million in aid. They're going to take a hit on that, withdrawal from their bank account, or deposits not going to get there because they're unable to control their borders.
What are they doing with the money that we're giving them?
Right.
Why is it so unsafe in those countries still? And are other countries participating too? Are we the only ones giving aid?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Democrats, meanwhile, remember the backdrop is the midterms are 2 weeks from today. The Democrats are struggling to come up with an answer to when the president says, look, you see that group of people, the caravan heading toward the United States? He said that is a result of the Democrat Party not working with the Republicans in Congress to fix our broken immigration laws. And top Democrats don't want to talk about it, according to the Washington Post this morning as well, because they think that health care is a winning issue for them. So anytime somebody asks about the immigration, they try to divert back to health care.
And by the way, very fair and balanced look on the front page of the New York Times. We toss over to Jillian. Trump escalates use of migrants as election ploy, stoking voters' anxiety with baseless tale of ominous caravan. Okay, besides that, I'll report the facts.
There you go.
There's your opinion in the headline. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Brian.
Good
Ainsley
morning.
and Steve. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's get you caught up. We're following this Fox News alert. And panic at the University of Utah overnight after a student is shot and killed on campus. The university going on lockdown as police searched the massive campus for the shooter. The suspect, Melvin Rowland, found dead after shooting himself inside a church off campus. Police believe Rowland, a registered sex offender, was the victim's ex-boyfriend. He was not a student at the university. Now, in an earlier version of this story, we showed you the wrong video. We showed you pictures of Senator Kamala Harris instead of Melvin Rowland's mugshot. We apologize for that error. A South Carolina sheriff's deputy has died just over 2 weeks after an ambush shooting that left a second officer dead and 5 others injured. Farrah Turner is the 43rd officer shot and killed in the line of duty this year. And memorial services beginning today for fallen Georgia police officer Antoine Toney. He was killed in the line of duty over the weekend. TV legend Bob Barker rushed to the hospital overnight. The former The Price is Right host being treated for serious back pain in Los Angeles. Barker spent 35 years hosting the classic game show before retiring in 2007. He will celebrate his 95th birthday in December. Do you want to be a billionaire? Who doesn't, right? Well, here's your chance. The jackpot for tonight's Mega Millions drawing up to a record $1.6 billion. The numbers will be drawn at 11 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow, there's another chance to win big. The Powerball prize is now up to $620 million. The chance of winning both jackpots is 1 in 88 quadrillion. Did you guys get tickets?
Yes.
You did?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
Sally went and bought them.
Oh.
I haven't gotten the new ones, though. I got them a few days ago, and no one won. So
I don't
got
play.
the new one.
I never play.
You don't play?
No.
Brian hates it.
I know.
$2.
I know.
Just saying, pretty good investment if you're lucky.
All right, thanks, Jill. 12 minutes after the hour, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi has been harassed by many on the left.
What would Mr. Rogers think about you? Pam Bondi, shame on you! Shame on you! Shame
Now she says civility in politics is needed more than ever. She joins us live with a warning for the left next.
Plus, she wants to be the next governor of Georgia. There's just one problem. Democrat Stacey Abrams just confessed to burning her state's flag.
Did you ever notice that the very first bite of every great meal?
We've been telling you about Republican leaders targeted by leftist protesters, and our next guest is no stranger to that sort of abuse.
What would Mr. Rogers think about you? Pam Bondi, shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
In the distance, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi accosted at the movies this past summer. She says civility in politics is needed now more than ever. She joins us right now from Tampa. Pam, good morning to you. The irony is, weren't you leaving a movie about bullying?
I was, about Mr. Rogers, who we all grew up with. It was a documentary about his life, about kindness and civility. The irony of that, but it actually started before we went in the movie, about 3 times. But of course they didn't air that video because I said, I'm glad you're videoing this. Let me tell you my position on these issues.
Right. There's an interesting perspective on some of the other channels where they are blaming the president of the United States for people getting up in the face of Republicans.
Steve, I heard that too yesterday as well on a competing network. I heard that on a network and they said, I could not believe that this person said it's President Trump's fault Really? They did not mention the architect of this plan, Maxine Waters, who continues to raise these horrible, horrible thoughts to do to all of us. And nor did her protege, Eric Holder. You know, I know Eric Holder. I worked with Eric Holder. And for him to say, kick them when they're down, at least I'll give Michelle Obama a lot of credit for saying that was wrong.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the caravan. You know, the Democrats not talking so much about it because they haven't really come up with, you know, in the past, Democrats have called for the abolishment of ICE. They would prefer to talk a little bit about health care and not about the caravan. But, you know, for people watching right now, they're thinking, what's going to happen with these people? What is going to happen, Pam?
Well, ultimately, they're going to be arrested if they try to breach our country, and that's law and order. I'm a career prosecutor, as you know, Steve, and I've seen firsthand what comes into our country from Mexico, from China to Mexico, into our country, the heroin, the fentanyl, all the drugs, the gang members. I've seen this as a prosecutor in Florida for years and years. So we have to protect our borders. And, you know, you're looking at these people on the news breaking down that fence to get into Mexico. It's violence, and it's got to stop. And the fact that they would even risk children being out there with them, that shows that they're not here peacefully. We've seen them burning the American flag. They're here to cause trouble. No, I can't say that for all of them, of course. But we've got to protect our country, our citizens, and our kids from the drugs, from the human trafficking, from all. That's why we have borders, and that's why we have a vetting process in our country.
And it looks like most of them are not going to apply for asylum. Most are just going to try to slip across the border and in many cases try to get jobs. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the great state of Florida. Pam, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.
All right. 7:20 now here in New York City. That caravan of migrants is about 1,000 miles from our U.S. border. But this is personal for our next guest. She is a legal immigrant, and her son was murdered by an illegal. Her message for that caravan coming up.
Older. All right, some quick headlines, and then I toss over to Ainsley. New overnight, some news, talk about political attacks. Here we go. The FBI's Joint Terrorist Task Force is investigating after an explosive device was found at a billionaire George Soros' home. An employee at Soros' New York home calling police after discovering a suspicious package inside his mailbox, the bomb squad blowing it up. Soros was not home at the time. And the hunt is on for the vandals who tossed a boulder through a window of House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy's California office. Very nice. These two men caught on surveillance cameras. They also took office equipment. Incredible. Ainsley.
All right, thank you, Brian. As the migrant caravan is pushing closer to the United States border, President Trump doubles down on his concerns about them entering our country.
That is an assault on our country. That's an assault. And in that caravan, you have some very bad people. You have some very bad people. And we can't let that happen to our country, and it's not.
Our next guest is an angel mom who immigrated legally from Hungary, has a message for the thousands of migrants that are marching here to the United States. Her name is Agnes Gaboni. She lost her a better life for your children. You brought your son here, or had your son here. I'm not sure. I guess you brought him over, and then he was killed by an illegal. Tell us what happened to him.
Well, actually, my family, my brother and myself, here, and my son was born here in the United States, and he was standing on the driveway when this gang member was going to shoot his friend and got my son instead. He fled to Mexico immediately after the shooting, and eventually he turned himself in when the law enforcement found out she was harboring and depositing her welfare check at a local credit union so he can live off of in Mexico.
So when you see this caravan coming up toward the United States, what's your message to them?
I want to tell them to stop this mob, this criminal activity. I'm speechless. This is a mob that's invading our country, and this needs to be stopped. They don't respect our country. They didn't respect the borders into Mexico. They tore down their wall, and Mexico has very strict immigration laws, and they didn't care. What makes anybody think that they're going to respect American laws? We don't need these people here, and if they are legitimately refugees, don't come here just because you need a job. That's not a real reason to be a refugee. Go to the first port of entry.
Agnes, what is your message for our lawmakers? Because I want to know how long it took you to get your entire family into this country. Do we need to change the immigration laws to make it faster and easier on families that are doing it the right way?
It's not unreasonable, the time that it is required. You got to go to a full background investigation, full medical, make sure that you have good character, good morals, and come into this country. It takes a few months once the process is started. The waiting until you start may take a little longer, but you need to be patient, like my family was. We never for a minute thought about invading this country, coming here as a tourist and overstaying our visa. That needs to stop. We have immigration laws. We need to enforce them. And lawmakers need to work with President Trump. Congress has wasted so much time, and rhinos wasting so much time criticizing our president and criticizing the First Lady, Melania Trump. They need to start getting ready and getting busy to protect us. Notice that the Democrats are very quiet right now. They are not saying anything.
Well, I think they've been told not to. They know it's not a popular topic. And here we are 2 weeks out from the midterm. Thank you so much, Agnes. I'm sorry for your loss. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for having me.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. All right, coming out, no documents, no problem. One state says you can vote without having proof that you even live there. Plus, Pete Hegseth is having breakfast with friends down in Texas after President Trump's rally. Pete?
Morning. I'm here with my new friends, Vicky, John, and Jimmy. Actually, Jimmy and I have been friends for a while. He's a retired Marine, fighter pilot, air pilot, and a nurse. We're going to get their thoughts. Some of them were at the rally. Some of them couldn't get into the rally. Others were working like hardworking Americans. What issues matter most to them, and how do they feel the president is doing as we are just 2 weeks away from the midterm? We're at the House of Pies here on Kirby Drive in Houston after the rally. Come on out if you're not here already.
You gotta get down south.
I didn't do it. So if you want him to investigate, we'll just have to nominate Hillary Clinton to the United States Supreme Court. How do you like that? Right? Let's see how she does. If Judge Kavanaugh had to go through what he went through, and he's a fine man. Can you imagine Hillary up there? That would take 3 to 4 years of questions.
One of the laugh lines last night at the big Trump rally down in Houston, Texas. Because the president was there, we have dispatched Pete Hegseth to the House of Pies in Houston.
Yes. Absolutely. This is the Bayou. What is it called? The Bayou Pie. I'll have to get you the official. It's fantastic. The pies here are great. And great folks here in Houston, Texas. And we got a chance to talk to Vicky, John, and Jimmy. You're not able to go to the rally. You had a ticket, Vicky. We'll forgive you. But you watched it from your bed, saw the whole thing. I was there on the ground. The energy there was palatable. And I also heard from multiple people, Kavanaugh and Caravan were issues that are really firing up Republicans. Are those issues that are animating you?
They have fired me up as well. The energy was palpable, and I'm afraid that no one's going to want to be on the Supreme Court. They're not going to want to go through that, and they shouldn't have to go through that.
How about on the Caravan side? What about that gets you?
I believe that we have some low-paying jobs for these people, but I just don't know how our system can afford to support them.
You're saying that as a nurse as well, healthcare?
Yes,
absolutely.
I definitely am. I think we need to take care of our own. I don't have any problems with immigrants coming into this country because we've all been immigrants at some point. However, we have to know who's entering the country, and we have to know how to get in touch with them. We just need to vet them properly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The president has talked about that extreme vetting. John, you're a pilot.
Yes.
You were there last night.
I was.
Your take on the speech?
Awesome. I mean, I think the crowd was riled up behind a president. And, at some point, the votes in Washington kind of tell the whole story. I don't know how anybody could go one other direction other than what he was talking about last night.
Yeah, what does the left stand for right now?
Well,
sort of laid that out.
If it's about votes, the votes, they stand in a block. I think he mentioned it last night. For some reason, they choose to fail together as a block. You don't see that on the other side.
They're good at sticking together.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I've never seen people stick together, even in a losing cause.
Everybody I talked to last night said they're more enthusiastic about this president today than they even were on election day. Are you one of those folks as well?
I think I'm in that category, 100%. Yeah.
Why?
Just because of what he's done for the country. I mean, let's look at the economy first. And I think there's time left to do things, even in this term, that he'll get done if we can keep control of things that kind of stay on the right track.
Yeah. Are you more fired now as a result about the midterms? More fired up?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to go another direction. I hope there's a surprise on November 6th.
We shall see.
I voted yesterday.
You did, so you've already got your vote.
I've already voted.
I think I know who you may have voted for.
It was easy. It was one thing.
Jimmy, you're a retired Marine. Thank you for your service. I know you're pulling for the Georgia Bulldogs coming up as well. Your take. What issues matter the most to you?
Immigration. The caravan that's coming from Central America is very concerning. It's going to have to be a decision point at some time to decide what to do. If they get all the way here, we might have to, put military.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it time to look at a military option since Washington can't figure it out?
They may overrun these ICE agents. They can only do so much. So we do have resources in the military that can do some things like that. Might be necessary.
Guy knows what he's talking about. Appreciate your service. Thank you all for your time. I'll tell you. One thing about the voters I saw last night as well, extremely informed. People are dialed in on the issues right now. They're following it day by day. They're going to make a vote based on what they believe in, not based on some ad they see at the last second. So a lot of passionate support on both sides. Guys,
yeah, it's
back
nice to be talking about the issues finally instead of an investigation and Russia collusion for a change.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll start after the election.
Right, exactly.
Pete, you're done. You can dig into that piece of Bayou pie. It was Bayou pie?
So good.
Is that the name of it? Yeah, let's just watch. Let's just watch this.
Bayou pie.
And let us know.
Fantastic.
It sounds like it tastes good.
Jillian is not allowed to snack on the job. She's worked full time.
I actually don't like pie. No pie.
What?
You're anti-pie.
I have not ever met a pie I like. It's weird. I know I'm weird.
You like cake.
Weirder by the day.
All right.
All right, guys, let's get you caught up on this. Former President Barack Obama taking credit for the surging economy.
When you hear all this talk about economic miracles right now, remember who started it.
The former president saying his administration was left cleaning up after the Bush administration. Those comments coming in Nevada while President Trump held a rally at the same time in Texas. The current president drawing about 19,000 plus an overflow crowd compared to Obama's crowd of about 2,000. But who's counting? No documents, no problem. A New Hampshire judge blocking a law that would have required proof of residency for some voters when they register. The judge argues it would create long lines at polling places and be too complicated for students, disabled voters, and others to cast their ballots. The law, which affects people trying to register within 30 days of an election, passed along party lines last year. A New Jersey mom is being hailed a hero for stopping a potential school shooting hundreds of miles away. Coberly Bull calling Kentucky police after getting a racist Facebook message about her children.
I was angry that someone could even think that way about 3 beautiful children.
So investigators actually catching this man, Jarrell, as he was pulling out of his driveway. He admitted to sending the message, but police also believe he was about to carry out a school shooting after finding ammunition, a gun, and a detailed plan of an attack. And this story is just too cute. A 5-year-old girl mistaking a bride for Cinderella at a park in New York. Check it out. The bride taking wedding pictures with her husband when she made little Layla's fairy tale come true. Isn't that adorable? Let's look at your headlines.
That is sweet. All right. Thanks, Jillian.
That's a little girl that's allowed to watch Cinderella.
Right. We know there's some actresses who don't think it's a good message. Heard that last week. All right. Janice Dean is on the streets of New York with the folks.
Hello. How is everybody? How are you guys today?
Great.
Where are you from?
Dallas.
Dallas. Tennessee.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
All right.
Illinois.
Southern Illinois. Are any of you related to Brian Kilmeade?
No.
No. Okay, so you don't have any stories? No. All right. We'll talk to you. Talk about it later, though. Let's take a look at the maps real quick. You know what? We have something serious I want to tell you about. This is Hurricane Willa, major hurricane that's going to move into Mexico this afternoon, and then it starts to weaken. But the problem is all of that moisture is going to stream up towards Texas, parts of the Gulf Coast, the Florida Panhandle. So this is something we're going to have to watch. Texas has been inundated with rain over the last few weeks, so flooding is going to be a big concern, not only today but through the work week. Some of that energy, by the way, is going to move across the Gulf Coast and perhaps give us a coastal storm for the Northeast this weekend. All right, are you guys excited to be here in New York?
Absolutely.
Does everyone know you're on Fox and Friends? Yes. All right, excellent. Thank you for coming. And they expect Brian to buy all of us breakfast.
Absolutely.
Done.
Right.
Wait, is that a yes?
No, the House of Pie is going to be sending pie. Right.
All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead, she wants to be the next governor of the great state of Georgia, but Democrat Stacey Abrams just confessed to apparently burning her state's flag once upon a time. How will that impact the election? We're going to examine the big governor's races coming up next.
Plus, first pitch is just hours away. The Boston Red Sox and Los Angeles Dodgers, two legendary franchises, face off in the World Series. Todd Pyro is live outside Fenway Park because he forgot the keys.
Good morning. Welcome back. Time for some quick headlines. Caught on camera edition. A huge ball of fire shoots into the air. The explosion happening at an alcohol factory in Mexico City. It's unclear what caused the blast. One person is hurt, though. And a handcuffed woman steals a police car. Watch this.
What is she doing?
Trying to steal your car.
Stop!
Well, geez, that woman speeding away in the police car in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She somehow got inside after cops pulled her over for driving another stolen car. She was arrested back in March, but police just released that video. It's crazy. Brian?
Crazy is accurate. Okay. Hey, we are just 2 weeks away from the midterm elections. Exactly. And it's not just the House and Senate that's up for grabs. A lot of key governor races across the country are really heating up. I'm going to focus on some of them. Georgia, for example, where this photo of Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams, much younger, 1992, burning a state flag during a protest in college. It surfaced on Monday. Joining us now with all the races to watch, starting with that one, is Republican pollster and columnist for the Washington Examiner, Kristen Soltis Anderson. So we have a very tight race here. Stacey Abrams, 45, just a 2-point deficit to Brian Kemp. We thought this was a ruby red state. What's happening?
Georgia is one of those states that Democrats have long thought has the potential to become a swing state because Georgia has a very large African-American population, and they view this year as the year they could potentially flip Georgia blue. With Stacey Abrams being nominated for governor, she's the first African-American woman to be nominated by a major party for the governor's mansion, and so this is a race that's getting a lot of attention from progressive activists. When it comes to the photo that just came out, it'll be interesting to see how this changes the race. When she was burning the flag, it was during the 90s, which was a period of time when the flag had the Confederate flag on it. It was removed in 2003, but nonetheless, already a race where there's lots of tensions between the Republican and the Democrat. This will surely just bring them more to the surface.
But it does make a little bit more sense if you're burning the Georgia flag, if it stars in bars and you're an African-American woman who's a student in college. In Florida now, Andrew Gillum is in the process, perhaps, of shocking the world. A very successful state coming off a Republican governor's 8 years in office. Andrew Gillum, he's having even though he's not the most successful mayor in Florida, and under an FBI investigation, with a 4-point on average lead over Ron DeSantis.
That's right. So Florida has had Republican governors for quite a while. And so the idea that Democrats could take the governor's mansion in Florida is also sort of a massive political development. In this race, you have two candidates who are really tapped into what their party's bases care about. You have Ron DeSantis on the Republican side, big supporter of President Trump, really was able to fire up the conservative base and win that primary by large margins. On the Democratic side, Andrew Gillum's win was a surprise surprise, overcoming Gwen Graham, former member of Congress, and he did it by aligning the African American community in Florida with the really progressive Bernie Sanders base. The question is, which of these two men is going to be able to win the middle? At the moment, Gillum has a slight advantage, but it varies wildly from poll to poll, so still a really good race to watch.
Right, and of course, DeSantis had a tough race against Putnam to begin with. I got to say, too, the former governor, Rick Scott, going against Bill Nelson for that Florida Senate seat. Bill Nelson has that seat. They're trying to work on a date. He's supposed to appear with us at some point in the not-too-distant future. In Wisconsin, Scott Walker, how much trouble is he in? A very successful governor, thought to be a front-runner to be possibly run for president of the United States, and Tony Evers with the lead.
Yeah, so Scott Walker is one of those members, one of those governors who won back in that first Tea Party wave in 2010, has faced a recall. He's been a survivor, and yet now he is trailing very slightly in the polling averages against his Democratic opponent. This is one of those races that you can tell night has gone bad for Republicans, or is going bad for Republicans, if Scott Walker is really on the ropes.
Yeah, especially down ticket after that. And, of course, in Maryland, the Republican Larry Hogan looks very much in command. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Kristen Soltis Anderson, appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, coming up straight ahead, Congresswoman Mia Love says she's being targeted in a smear campaign over campaign contribution. She was just cleared from all wrongdoing and is here to talk about it. She'll join us next hour. And the countdown is on. Game 1 of the Red Sox and Dodgers facing off at the World Series. Todd Pyro live outside Fenway Park tonight, where they won 108 regular season games.
Well, we're just only a few hours away from Game 1 of the World Series, the big matchup set between the LA Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox.
The Red Sox hosting the Dodgers in Fenway Park, and that's where we find Fox and Friends correspondent Todd Pyro. Hello, Todd.
Hey, guys. Good morning to you from a very chilly Fenway Park. Game time, first pitch, 8:09 Eastern time. And what a series, so much intrigue. Where do we start? East versus West Coast. You have the stadiums themselves. Fenway behind us here, an iconic ballpark. And let's not forget about Dodger Stadium, an amazing park in and of itself. What about the managers? Dave Roberts for the Dodgers, Alex Cora for the Red Sox. Each of those guys played for both the Red Sox and the Dodgers during their playing careers. Who can forget? Yankee fans can, of course. Dave Roberts sealing that base against the Yankees, propelling the Red Sox into the World Series in 2004 and ending the curse. Let's not forget about this pitching matchup. Chris Sale versus Clayton Kershaw. Pitching is going to be on display, but let's not forget about the hitters. Some of those hitters using bats made by Marucci, a company the president called one of his Made in America companies. We went down to their location in Louisiana to see how they do it. Check it out. How you doing?
How you doing?
This is awesome. Joined by Kurt Ainsworth, CEO of Marucci and former MLB player. What was it like to play on the show?
That was great. It was a dream come true. You know, your whole life you want to go play in the big leagues, and I got a chance to experience that, and now I get to stay in the game with this.
You took that experience to start what really is an unreal Made in America company.
Really did. It was very fortunate. Everything here is still handcrafted, hand cut, hand sanded, hand painted.
When the White House called you up and said, you're a Made in America company, what's going through your mind?
It was a humbling experience to get that call.
It's beautiful.
And to be able to go into the White House and represent Louisiana and the Made in America product showcase there.
What's it like to see the President of the United States holding one of your bats?
That was just a really amazing experience to watch them do that in the White House. You can't get anything better than that. We actually made him a bat with his name on it and with the Vice President's name on it. And you know, when they looked at the bat, it was something that was pretty special.
That's very nice.
Thank you. Everybody likes a bat with their name on it.
We got ours. There it is. Check that out. All the cutting is controlled by this machine right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Precision is key. We have over 6,000 models.
So are all the bats sanded the same?
No, they're not. In order to get the pro players' weights exactly the way they want, we do them all by hand, and some require a little bit more than others, depending on the weight, to get it exactly the way they want.
So this is where you guys put the finishing touches on?
Yes, this is the last line of defense in here. These guys in here are in charge of making sure everything's right before it gets to the player. The length, the model, the color, everything that they expect in our bats, these guys ensure that it's exactly what they want.
What's awesome about what you just described, every single step in that process is a Made in America job.
100%. We've got a good group of people up here, great team, and we really have a lot of pride in what we do, and to be able to see it on TV, it's really special.
What does Made in America mean to you?
You know, it's special. We love the country here, obviously. We want to do more and more products here as we go, and I think that that's one thing from this administration that we do like, and it is a challenge for us. We want to start bringing more and more of our product lines back to America to join the wood bats that are 100% made in America.
Game 1 comes your way in a little more than 12 hours from now. Joe Buck, John Smoltz on the call, only on Fox. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys have a present sitting there with you in studio, right?
That's right, Todd. I hold in my hand the Fox and Friends bat as seen on TV.
It's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's
Right.
great. Made in America.
Isn't it just like a pretty piece of manufacturing? I mean, it's a baseball bat, but it's so pretty.
It's too pretty to use. We got to put that on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we go to use it, it'll never be used. We'll miss every pitch, especially if it's somebody good.
We'll be watching the game tonight right here on Fox. Thank you so much, Todd.